Sathya Sai Speaks, Volume 12, Chapter 35, Terrible and Tender, Part 1 of 2. Yate Rudra Shiva Tanura Gora Papakasini. The Prajapati, who is the divine inspirer of the Vedas, has two natures and names, two forms and features. The terrible, known as Rudra, and the tender, known as Shiva. When the Narasimha incarnation of God, human with the head of a lion, emerged from the pillar in the audience hall of Hiranyakashipu, Prahlada, his little son, saw him as tender, charming, and compassionate. For he was saturated with devotion to God. But the father who ignored God and dared to insult him and injure his devotees saw before him a terror-striking form of total destruction. While Prahlada sang and danced in ecstasy, Hiranyakashipu shivered and shook in fear. It is therefore clear that man visualizes in the one God the two opposites of terror and tenderness, reflections of his own mental makeup. The one God manifests himself in these two aspects, so that the world may be sustained and fostered, improved and cleansed. These two, the terrible and the tender, are the characteristics found together in every single thing on earth. For are not they all parts of the self-same God? It is the mind that decides the desire. Take the articles of food. It has the Shivam aspect when taken in intelligently and in moderate quantities. It can also be Rudram or devastating in its effects if taken unintelligently and in excess. Everything or thought that obstructs the surge of Ananda, divine bliss, every such situation, experience, idea is Rudra. Every step towards limitation, regulation, control, progress, sublimation is tender, Shivam, auspicious, fruitful, and beneficial. It is the desire which haunts man that is responsible for making the one item, food, either a boon or a bane. It is the mind that decides the desire and directs it. A sharp knife can be used for slicing fruit or for stabbing. In the hands of a surgeon, it can save a life rather than destroy one. The mind can liberate you from bondage or bind you more tightly with the objective world. God is omnipresent, the inner motivator in every being. So we have to recognize him as residing within and manipulating the mind too. When he manipulates it to our benefit, we can call him Shivam. When he playfully or purposefully turns it against our best interests, we can call him Rudra. One point has to be emphasized here. We should not identify God as Shivam when we get happiness and Rudram when we fall into misery. For happiness and misery are not two distinct experiences. The absence of one is the presence of the other. Each is inextricably intertwined with the other. Undiluted happiness is a chimera, a fire-breathing monster, a symbol of fear and terror. Pleasure is the interval between two moments of pain. Pain is the gap gap between two moments of pleasure. God is eager to award victory to the aspirant. Again, God assumes or appears to assume the terrible aspect only to ensure the welfare of mankind and the happiness of the worlds. It is mentioned in the epics and Puranas that God placed various temptations and tribulations in the path of ascetics and aspirants, thus demonstrating that he is either cruel or vindictive or positively mischievous. No, God has no desire to prevent or postpone their spiritual progress, nor has he any apprehension that they might trouble him if they succeed. God is anxious and eager to award them the victory they seek. That is the reason why he puts them through the obstacles. Being students, you know very well that the university has prescribed certain examinations at the end of every academic year. Do you ascribe this system to having any desire for persecuting you? Do you think it is a sign of displeasure? You know that they are conducted so that you could be promoted. The yogin, sadhaks, and aspirants are being tested by God only to promote them, instead of accepting the tests as a sign of His care and love. People grow desperate and defeatist. They cry out, "Oh God, we cannot face these tests," just as students cry out, "We don't want examinations." How then can progress be measured and achievement recognized? Those who pilot planes or drive cars or captain ships must possess certificates of having attained the required proficiency. They are tested before the certificates are awarded. Those sadhaks who protest and clamor when tests confront them are only proclaiming themselves as unworthy of higher positions, as content to remain where they are. God's test of Emperor Sibi's spirit of renunciation. The story of Emperor Sibi is an illustration of this truth. Though endowed with power and authority, prosperity and wealth, Sibi was a genuine sadhak, having attained a high stage in detachment and the spirit of renunciation. God decided to discover whether his achievements were deep-rooted and unshakable. Agni, the god of fire, and Indra, the god of the heavenly regions, took on the forms of a dove and a hawk. The hawk, Indra, pursued the dove, Agni, across the sky until the frightened bird fell into the lap of Sibi sitting on his throne, pleading for protection from the hawk. As befitted his dharma, Sibi gave the word that he would save the dove from its enemy and assured full protection for it. At that moment, the hawk presented itself before the emperor and demanded its meal, its legitimate prey. "I am hungry. I had secured my food. You have deprived me of my meal," it complained. "Of what use is all your vaunted spirituality if you rob me of my meal?" it lamented. At this, Sibi said, "Yes, I shall slice off flesh from my body, weighing as much as this dove weighs. You can appease your hunger with that." The hawk agreed. A balance was brought. The dove was placed on one pan, pieces of flesh cut from the body of Sibi were placed in the other pan. But lo and behold, however many pieces of flesh were laid thereon, the pan on which the dove sat did not rise at all. It was indeed a mystery how a bird could weigh so much. At last Sibi said, "You can take all of me. Eat me whole. Here I am at your disposal." No sooner did he utter these words than the hawk became Indra, and the dove transformed into Agni, gods effulgent in their glory. They were supremely happy at the depth of Sibi's spirit of renunciation. They blessed him profusely and departed. Though Indra and Agni might appear to be terribly cruel in their dealings with Sibi, it was indeed only a test to provide him a chance to express his sovereign qualities of self-control, compassion, and charity. End of part 1 of 2. Brindavan, May 30th, 1974.